Hi, welcome to another screencast on developing XMPP application with the Vorpal Framework. So what I'm going to do this time is to show you how to develop stateful objects with conversations. So by way of an example, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to develop an ELIZA bot. So what is an ELIZA? So what is ELIZA? ELIZA it's a natural language processing program originally written by Joseph Weizenbaum, this gentleman here, and I believe the initial implementation was written in Lisp, and I do actually remember studying about it in my uni days. So basically what ELIZA allows you to do is this. It parses your input. For example, like you say, I have a headache, and what it'll do is it will match the sentence and match your sentence that you have entered, and it will return some sort of a response. The idea here is to attempt to understand the sentence and to provide a human-like response. So in our XMPP application, what I'm attempting to do is this. I'm going to use a conversation. So a XMPP user establishes a conversation with an instance of ELIZA, and this person can chat with ELIZA through the IM client. So let's begin. What I'm going to do now is start by creating a project. So you go to Java web application, and I'm going to type in the name called ELIZA. Next, as you can see, I'm running it on Glassfish, the latest version of Glassfish 3.11, and I'm going to enable CDI. So next, I will select now the Jabberwocky framework and select the Jabberwocky framework here and click finish. So NetBeans is now going to go ahead and generate a project for me. Okay. So what I will do now is this. I will have to enter the external components configuration. So in here, I'm running OpenFire, and I've defined a subdomain for ELIZA, which is called Arkham, and the shared secret is I hear things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put Arkham, and here I'm going to say I hear things. Okay, save it. So this is my deployment descriptor. So once I've saved that, the second thing that I'm going to do is this. I'm going to add the ELIZA jar library in. So again, the ELIZA jar library is actually taken from here. I've adapted it a little bit, but it's essentially the same set of classes. So go to library, add jar file, and this is the ELIZA jar library. Okay, so I've added that in just to make sure. Okay, so I've added that in. So now what I'm going to do is I will create a Java class. I will call it ELIZA bot. Okay, and give it a package. Call it acme XMPP ELIZA. Okay. Okay. To support conversation, what we need to do is this. We need to annotate it with conversation scope. Now there are actually two conversation scope. This conversation scope under Java X Enterprise context, that is the default conversation scope supported by JSF application, and this other conversation scope is the one that we want. Okay, so we're going to use the Jabberwocky framework's conversation scope. It's the first thing. Then the second annotation I'm going to put the message annotation, which says that this class, ELIZA bot class, will only handle XMPP messages. And the third annotation is this. I only want to handle those messages that are addressed to ELIZA, okay, from any domain. Okay, so I'm using the any domain as a capture. So that is my class, my ELIZA bot class that handles conversation scope. So the next thing is this. I can inject a few things. One of the first things that I would like to inject in is the conversation class. Okay. Now for the conversation class, so what we doing is we are injecting conversation. However, we cannot just inject this conversation, because what if you do inject a conversation like this, what the Java EE container will do is it will give you the conversation object of the the Java EE6. We do not want that. What we want is a conversation object for Jabberwocky. So for that, you need to give it a name. You need to call it a name, and that name it's predefined, called conversation. So when you remember in Jabberwocky, in Vorpal, when you inject conversation object, you need to give it an, otherwise you'll get an error during injection. Then the second thing that you can actually inject in, but we will not be using it this time around, is something called a conversation context. Okay, a conversation context is very much like an HTTP session object. It is a map that allows objects under a conversation to share data or information. Okay, so again, I will not be using it here. And the third thing that you can optionally also inject is a thread ID. Okay, the thread ID of our message. Okay, again, you do not need to inject the thread ID because it is quite low level. But however, if you're interested in finding out the thread ID for maybe for debugging purposes, then it's good chance to inject in. Now, having said that, if a incoming message does not support conversation, that is, the message does not have the thread element, then all these three methods, all these three members will be null. Okay, so by actually checking if conversation, do we have actually a conversation object, or do we have a null, we can actually determine, we can actually find out to see if the incoming message supports conversation or not. So the other thing that we would like to actually create here is an instance as a member of Eliza. Okay. So Eliza is our stateful object. So when we begin the conversation, we will create an instance of Eliza and hold it in this Eliza bot. So once we have done that, we need to now create the first method to start our conversation. So to start our therapy session with Eliza, we examine the body and we look for start. Okay, so if we see in the message body there is a start, then what we say is this: we go start therapy, and we inject the from the sender, who is the sender, and then now we check if conversation is null. If conversation is null, then we say that your IM client does not support conversation. Okay, so that's first one. Okay, the second thing is we need to check also if the conversation has started. We have already initiated a conversation. Okay, we can do this by saying if conversation, is it transient? Okay, so if it is not transient, okay, then we say you are already in a therapy session. Okay, so next, so we support conversation, and we haven't begun a conversation. So now we can actually go ahead and create an instance of Eliza object. Okay, and we can also, and the next step is we need to initialize the Eliza object. Read script. We need to pass it a script. The script is happily for us, the script is actually embedded inside the Eliza jar file, and it goes something like this: Eliza script. Okay, so you can actually see it here. So Eliza package, Eliza script. Okay, so if we cannot initialize the script, then we say Eliza is not available today. Okay, otherwise we now begin the conversation by saying conversation begin, and then we return a prompt message to say hello from the ID. Okay, to bear. Okay, how can I help you today? Like that. Okay, so we want to have an annotation here to say that this should be the first method to be examined for matching by Vorpal. Then the second one is body. To end the conversation, we say quit. Okay, and then we say public string and therapy. Okay, again we need to do our checking. Okay, so if it is in the first place, we check here is transient. When we're ending the conversation, we need to check if it is transient. If it is transient, then we haven't really started the conversation, so we cannot actually end it. So we say you are not in a therapy session yet, right? Okay, otherwise we can say conversation end, and then we say return goodbye, hope to see you again, like that. Okay, so when we call end, what Vorpal will do is this: Vorpal will actually clear all the objects in the conversation context. So now the third, oh sorry, I forgot to annotate. So we want to say order. This is the second method that we should examine for matching. Okay, now so finally, if it is not start and if it's not quit, so it must be a sentence for Eliza to process. So we create a third method called body, but in this case, this time instead of matching a literal string, a start or a quit, we actually do a capture, and we say body. Okay, and then we pass that into process. Okay, we define a method called process, and we map that, okay, in here into the formal parameter, like that. Okay, again we need to check. So if it is conversations now, then your does not support conversation. If it is transient, then we want to tell the user that type start to begin your therapy session. Okay, then otherwise we have an instance of Eliza, then we just say Eliza process body, and we want to trim it just in case there are some input. Okay, so very simple. Okay, we start the therapy, okay, by typing start. So what this will do is Vorpal will now will now save Eliza bot, and so when we go quit, we will end the conversation, and everything else will be redirected here to be processed as an input for Eliza. So we have done that. So let me just check. Okay, so now what we want to do is this: we want to clean and build the application, and what we'll do is now we will deploy the application. Okay, so while it is deploying, okay, so deployed successfully, we want to just check to see if it's really been successfully deployed. So go to our OpenFire console, session, admin, and we want to check component session, and there it is. It has been connected. Okay, so what we are going to do now is this: I will use the Spark client for login, and we want to see the messages. If you want to see the messages exchange between the XMPP server and the client, what you need to do is you need to go to Advanced and turn on the debugger. So we go login. Okay. Okay. So these are the messages that are exchanged between the client. So as you can see, the messages are already being sent. So the first thing what you do is we can go start, and we say Eliza, okay, at arkham.badcomputer. Okay, so let me clear this first. Okay, so now we can say hello. Okay, so you say type start to begin a therapy session. So if you look here, these are the two messages that are being exchanged. Okay, that are being exchanged. So this is what we sent to Eliza. So if you notice here, this is the thread ID. So what Vorpal is doing is this: Vorpal is looking for this thread element. So if it sees this, it knows that this message can support conversation, and we also send back a message with the same ID. Okay, so now if we go start, okay, we will now see, hello, how can I be of assistance to you? And again, if you look at here, we use the same ID again. So now what Vorpal is doing is Vorpal has used this thread ID to establish a conversation. So we can say, I have a headache. Okay, then you use that instance of Eliza to respond to us, or you can say, I cannot sleep. Okay, so why do you say you cannot sleep, right? So if I say quit, you will quit the conversation. And then if I try to say I cannot sleep, okay, will be prompt to the to this prompt again to say that, please type start your therapy session. So hopefully you can give our Vorpal a try, and and do give me feedback or any other features that you would like to see. Thank you very much.